Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. What is going on? And welcome to a brand new podcast courtesy of the Gamers Lair gaming community. This is Galactic TableTalk. It's a podcast basically about Star Wars and about sort of like bringing together a community of so many lovers of Star Wars. I'm your host, Lewis, better known as Loggers109 on Twitch and YouTube. And with me today is the closest that we'll probably ever get to a real trooper, whether it be sort of like Galactic or Republic. Take your pick. It is Apollo. Apollo, how's it going, my man?
Doing pretty well. You know, it's another day. As long as we're alive, it's a great day. What is up, guys? It's your boy Paulo, number one Call of Duty God. It's just what I'm gonna call myself. But anyway, can't wait to be talking about this. I fucking love Star Wars. Love Star Wars for fucking 15 years, I think, something like that. Ever since Revenge of the Sith came out. But anyway, guys, let's get right into the video. You go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Sort of like to give a basic outline of how this podcast is going to go. We, myself, Apollo, and another member of the Gamers Lair community, Warwolf, have been talking bits and pieces back and forth of, we should do a Star Wars podcast at some point. And it's been sort of like going back and forth for months upon end. And it literally got to the stage of sort of like we should really just sort of like get going with this because we constantly talk about like wanting to do it, so let's just freaking do it, and here we are. So with this like introductory podcast, there's sort of like a couple of topics that have got lined up, but we'll do because like what I want to do is sort of like focus on, because with Star Wars there's loads of stuff. You've got countless movies, you've got countless TV series. I even think we can sort of like talk about Star Wars games as well.
But I know a little bit. Like my knowledge is very little of the games. I only played a few of the games so far. So
yeah. But I want to sort of like have this as not only a podcast where anybody on the call, like me and Apollo, we can debate, we can give our opinions back and forth. We're also looking at you guys who are going to be coming into the chat. I see 5 of you in the chat. Welcome. Hello. We want to get you involved as much as possible. So no matter if you know everything front to back with Star Wars, if you only know a tiny little bit of Star Wars, or you might not even, you might not know anything about Star Wars, but you're looking to get into it. Maybe this will be the podcast for you to sort of like be a little introductory guide, sort of like getting you into the great big massive open wide world that is Star Wars. Because I mean, like myself and Apollo are like, I'm pretty sure we classify ourselves as nerds in terms of sort of like Star Wars.
I mean, you can classify yourself a nerd now. It's okay. It's like back then you can't say yourself. Back then that was hell no. I was like, if you're called a nerd, that was a fucking insult.
Yeah, they don't call them nerd for nothing.
Yeah, it was like
sort of like
then,
the square glasses. Square glasses acne.
Like back then, I was fucking back then I was like with glasses, and everyone was like fucking nerd because I was the only one playing video games and watching Star Wars and a bunch of other TV shows. But 10 years later, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I fucking love video games and I love Star Wars." It's like, yo, come on. They used to make fun of me when I was a kid. Now y'all love the same shit. All right.
Now we get to look at his handsome face. So, as everything with sort of like introductory podcasts, I'm going to go to my very first banner that I've got here at the moment, and I'm going to start off with you, Apollo, and I want to hear from all the people in the chat, if you have a story to tell with this particular topic.
Yep.
What is your introduction to Star Wars, and why are we such nerds about it? So the floor is yours if you want to sort of like give your introductory to Star Wars.
No problem. So I think the official first time I actually watched Star Wars was back in May 4th, 2006. I actually still remember it. when Revenge of the Sith came out. Actually, my dad he
It's
actually took me there. Yeah,
an appropriate date as well.
exactly. So he took me to go see it, and oh my god, theater! It was like as soon as I got out of school, we went straight to the movie theater. Went to go watch it. And I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "What are we watching?" He's like, "We're watching Star Wars." I was like, I don't know what Star Wars is. I don't know what that is. Like I think the biggest fandom so far was like like when I was younger, it was like Toy Story, Jurassic Park, stuff like that. I was like, I never really got into it. I mean, I was into that, but I was like, I never really knew about Star Wars. But when I got to Star Wars, I'd like watching it. I was like, oh, like spaceships going everywhere. I was a huge space nerd at the time too. Like I was really into science and shit. But like just watching it, I was just so amazed. Like as a little kid, just geeking, like nerding the fuck out over it. Basically. But like the whole time, I was just enjoying it. And then like I have no idea what the story is, but just watching it as a kid, you're like, this is awesome. And then towards the end, like I still don't understand everything, but as the kid, like, or you're like, well, I'll talk about Order 66 first. When we got to Order 66, I was just like, what's going on? Why are they killing them?
Yeah.
And then you know, let them story continue. I was like, damn. And I was like, oh, we'll go into Order 66 maybe another time because that's a long topic to talk about. But no, you know, let the story continue, and I was just so amazing. And like Anakin Skywalker, the character itself, is one that really just stood out to me the whole time. You know, like I said, I didn't really know anyone, but you know, Anakin Skywalker is the main character, and you know, I'm basically like this is the character I'm actually falling in love with, and then watching that the final battle between him and Obi-Wan, I was like, holy shit, this the word I don't remember everything, but I do remember that fight.
Would you call it a nerdgasm?
Pretty much.
That you had? Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, chilling at dank ass hotel. But yes, it was basically a huge ass nerdgasm the whole time on that last fight scene, and I enjoyed it. Like I don't know what was going on. I don't know the backstory behind it, but I enjoyed the hell out of it.
So were you an instant like diehard fan from sort of like, you know, Revenge of the Sith onwards? I mean, did you have sort of like any dips in sort of like your fandom at all? Or
no. Oh well, I'll start with this. So after Revenge of the Sith, I was like, Dad, best movie I ever fucking saw. Like I was like, this is fucking amazing. And then he was like, he's like, that's just the third movie. I was like, oh, what? I was like, what are the other movies? So you have to watch 4, 5, and 6 to get to 1, 2, 3. I was like, okay, like I know what that means.
4, 5.
Yeah.
Did you have the reaction of there's a 4, 5, and 6 before 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah. and at the time I was 8 years old, so I didn't exactly understood what that meant. And then like as soon as after that I was like diehard Star Wars fan basically. And I was like, I don't think I watched 4, 5, and 6 right away. I think I went from I can't remember what I got into next. Like I don't remember how I got it, but I started watching episode 1 and 2 and then 3, and I still, like I said, I'm young, so I didn't start understanding the lore behind everything until many years later, especially with all the source material we got now. But like just starting episode 1, 2, and 3, then episode 4, 5, and 6, and that's when I actually fell in love with it. Like so when I started got to 4, 5, and 6, I was like, oh, like I was starting to understand a little more. Like, cause I'm still a kid at the time, so I still don't understand everything. But by then I was just falling in love with everything. And by the time I finished the whole series, I I would tell my mom, I was like, "Hey, can I get the lightsaber? I want Luke's lightsaber." Oh no, actually, I want to be Darth Vader for Halloween. I should be like, I want Darth Vader for Halloween, and I begged my mom for a lightsaber. She got me that. It was actually a real replica lightsaber of Darth Vader. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. So I was like, hopefully I get to see that again one day. But that was like the coolest shit ever. What else? Well, what else did I have that was really cool? Also, oh yeah, I begged my mom to go let me, just let me be Darth Vader for Halloween, and then I also even grew my hair. No bullshit, just to be like Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
Yeah. So
Cool, yeah, man. Cool. So it seems you've had like a very productive fandom since since Revenge of the Sith.
oh yeah. So there's more that goes into it. Let me finish up though. So I grew my hair out just so I could be Anakin Skywalker, and I was like 9 years old at the time, I think. And then there was even days, where like Saturday or Sunday, get up at 6, 7 o'clock and just watch the whole series, and that would be my whole Saturday or Sunday. So yeah, I was like the only time I would take a break is to go eat or go to the bathroom. So yeah, and and Battlefront 2. Yeah.
The original Battlefront 2, or
yeah, the original Battlefront 2.
Yeah, good choice, my friend.
Yeah,
The only reason why I ask if you sort of like had like a dip in your fandom at all is I was very first introduced to Star Wars right at Episode 1.
Yeah.
Like I went to watch Episode 1 in the movie theaters when, well, let's see, that came out in 1999. So I'll have been at like 6 or 7 when I went to watch it. And I was just sort of like, well, not blown away by the story. I'm old, kind of. Yeah, I was, 27 going on 28. But,
A little bit.
He was. But I just remember, I remember as a 6, 7-year-old just sort of like there watching it on the big screen, just going, "Whoa, laser swords!" and like, "Whoa, pod racing!" It's like, "Whoa, who's the guy in the freaking red and black makeup? He looks fucking cool."
Yeah,
and it's sort of like a fandom of like going to my parents and just sort of like, this is new. This is quite cool. And he was just sort of like, well, there's movies that have come before it. I'm like, what? I'm gonna have to get a watch of that. And this was during a time where, oh god, this will have been getting into sort of like the early 2000s, where normal like terrestrial television, they would do a thing of like showing the original trilogy like quite a lot over sort of like consecutive weekends. So we just got that VHS, we got that taped, and I watched the shit out of all 3 of them movies. And yeah, sort of like from watching the original trilogy, sort of like, loads of freaking times, and then like Episode 2 came out in the theaters, and then Episode 3 came out in the theaters, and then sort of like by the end of that, I'd sort of lost. I don't really know how I sort of like. I don't know whether I lost interest. I don't know whether I got sidetracked with anything else, but I sort of like I went off Star Wars.
Well, I mean, I guess so. I guess you can say that about the whole fandom in general, because there really wasn't much after that point. Like,
Clone Wars didn't kick in until about 2008, so there was like a 3-year gap of there not being anything that happened.
Yeah,
that's probably what it was. The fact that nothing new came out, and then by the time it did come out, I'd moved on to like, different stuff. Couldn't tell you what it was specifically because I was pretty much a teen at that point. So I could have lost interest in it for any number of reasons.
Yeah.
And then I specifically remember it was around about the time that Disney bought Lucasfilm, or they bought Star Wars, or whatever it was. And when they came out with Episode 7, and I remember sort of like going to see it because it was just sort of like, oh, well, you know, I've not checked out Star Wars in quite a fair while.
Yeah.
Let's give it another go. And you know, I went to, I don't know, did I go to the cinemas to start Episode 7? I'm pretty sure it did. Pretty sure I did, and I'm pretty sure I remember liking it. I was just sort of like, right, it's okay. And then it was literally on the cusp of hearing sort of like, well, they've done stuff from when you've lost the fandom to when you've got your fandom back. And I was just sort of like, right, okay. But I went a different track. I went a different track of watching Rebels before I watched Clone Wars. So, and I'm of one of those of, if I can't like legally stream it, wink wink, I just want to get like DVDs, and I'm like a stickler for getting like, you know, complete box sets. So I believe it was like a box set of like seasons 1 to 3. And I went and I watched them. I was just sort of like, this is really good fucking Star Wars. Okay, I actually really, really freaking quite like it. And then it was literally on the cusp of hearing that Clone Wars had been cancelled, but they were bringing it back for like the finale season. I was just sort of like, right, I'm gonna have to get a hand on on Clone Wars, and sort of like, you know, getting the complete box set 1 to 5, watching all of that, you know, sort of like watching all like the sequel trilogy, and then them bringing out sort of like Mandalorian over the past couple of years. And it's both that and I'm playing the video games as well, as sort of like reinvigorated my fandom. And you know, particularly with like a couple of like, particularly like the TV series, because the TV series in my eyes have not only sort of like eclipsed the movies in a way, but they've done a better job of trying to build up new fans. Build up new fans, sort of like, and you know, expand the Star Wars community.
So like the shows have done a great job establishing, you know, these characters, basically. Like we love Ahsoka. She wasn't in the original series, but we fucking love Ahsoka now. And like watching, you know, the Clone Wars makes Episode 3 a lot better. Like you actually understand, like you understand Anakin Skywalker. Like you're like, what? I mean, yes, you can see it from a boy why he turned to the dark side, but when you really watch the Clone Wars, it's like this dude lost his mother. He was a slave growing up. His Padawan left. And
there was all sorts of like shady shit that the Jedi did during the actual war itself that just sort of like, you know, no wonder he was manipulated so easily.
It was like, I was like, he was trying to look for help. No one gave it to him. And also, and like another thing with the Clone Wars is like, who the hell is Commander Cody in Episode 3? The one that executed Order 66. I was like, who the fuck is Commander Cody? I don't know who the fuck that dude is. But it was like getting to know these the clone troopers. It was like, these clone troopers, they're amazing. And coming from my perspective, you know, as a soldier myself, I was like, oh, I can start seeing similarities. And I think we're pawns in a game. That's the reality. We're just pawns in a game. And I can see a lot of similarities between the bureaucracy in, you know, Star Wars in real life, just being real, and the Empire as well. But no, like when we get to Order 66 in Star Wars, it just makes it so much more better, and the emotions are real. Like watching Order 66 as a kid. I don't know what's going on. But when you watch the Clone Wars and watch, you know, everything else, especially after season 7 of the Clone Wars, it's like, damn, Order 66 kind of hurts more than it did just watching it on the big screen.
Well, I don't want to give too much away, because, as I say, I think like not only the Clone Wars, not only all the movies, and all the other TV shows as well. I think they'd be really good sort of like episodes to do, sort of like individually. Just having a quick gander at sort of like the comments. So Yoshi's gone, I got into Star Wars because of my dad watching the old movies on VHS, and he still has them. God. Owning VHS in this day, VHSs in this day and age just seems pretty peculiar for me. But I've got mates that have sort of like hoarded games from like consoles that were around in like the 1990s. So I guess they're not really too weird, I'll say. Warwolf is in the chat. What's going on, my man? You should be here.
Doggy, you need to go watch it already.
Yeah, well, it's as I say, just sort of like, if you're a new, or if you're somebody that's never experienced Star Wars before, what I'm sort of like hoping will be the aim with this sort of like new podcast is I want to do like specifically movie podcasts or specifically TV series podcasts. And, with every episode, you'll be able to sort of like watch all beforehand, come in here, debate with us, give your thoughts, anything that sort of like you might have spotted that we might have missed. I think that'd be really cool for sort of like future podcasts down the road. Wolf, I got into Star Wars from my aunt. She had the anniversary movie set of 4, 5, and 6 back in 2006, 2007. That's very cool. Anniversary movie set, 2006. So I'm just wondering what anniversary edition that would have been.
What is it?
Because Wolf's going on about how the fact his aunt had the anniversary movie sets of 4, 5, and 6 back in 2006 or 2007. So I'm thinking, is that maybe the 25-year edition, possibly?
I think
maybe
30. I think 35. Wouldn't it? Yeah, 30. No.
Seems,
yeah, no. That'd be 30. I think no. Fuck. I'm tripping. No.
I'm forcing you to do maths on a Sunday.
Math. I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do math.
And then he started to get episodes 1, 2, and 3 at Walmart on DVD, and then I watched the Clone Wars and so on and so forth. So it seems as if like Wolf is one of those that he's watched pretty much all like the movies, and then he's like got in like actual chronological order. He's done the right thing, rather than I did of sort of like watching out of sequence.
Yeah.
Yoshi's loved the. Yoshi says he loves the Clone Wars and Clone Troopers are my favorite. That's one of the things that I really love about sort of like the Clone Wars themselves, because if you watch sort of like the movies, they just seem like such one-dimensional characters, and they're very much like figures on a spreadsheet or wherever you want to word it. But what the Clone Wars does so well is giving certain clones a personality, or giving them sort of like situations where they actually sort of like band together. I mean, it's like you said, Apollo. It's just sort of like you can see so many sort of like similarities that I imagine it resonates with you a hell of a lot more. Sort of like seeing the togetherness and the bonds that the clones have in sort of like the TV series.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to go into. I was like, I can't.
We don't want to go into too much spoilery territory.
No. I was like, I would speak on this some similarities, but I'm not trying to get in trouble either.
You see, Yoshi's saying that like Rebels is good. It's just sort of like I will always have a soft spot for Rebels because it was the very first thing that got me properly back into sort of like the Star Wars fandom.
Rebels was I just finished up like a week or two ago, and and I thought I'm not trying to go too far into it, but I can't wait to see more of Ezra and Thrawn, which hopefully.
Well, we're going to be sort of like touching on base with it, because we're going to move on from like our introductions, why we love Star Wars so much, to talking about future projects from Star Wars themselves. Because the back end of last year, Disney pretty much had their version of E3. I think it was like a
Star Wars Celebration.
It was like Star Wars Showcase, but they also did like stuff for like their own branches, so like Pixar, Disney themselves, like Marvel had sort of like a showcase themselves. And one of the things, so yeah, Star Wars had their showcase. They pretty much announced like a whole bunch of shit. And we're just going to be basically going through in this next little section all the upcoming Star Wars movies and TV shows that are coming up in sort of around about sort of, I don't know, the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's more like 2 years, because I think it was like
majority of them are coming in the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
So I'm gonna switch that on there. But yeah, as we go through every single project that's going to be announced, guys, make sure that you give us what your impressions for the future projects would be, and specifically, what are you looking forward to the most? So I'm just going to go to this little thing here. When my laptop decides to respond to it, we will get going. So we don't need to talk about Mandalorian Season 2, because that's another episode. Don't need gallery, unless you quite like looking at like what's it called? Train of thought. Come on, brain, work. If you're interested in sort of like behind the scenes stuff, Disney Gallery is definitely something to watch. So we are going to start off with The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is going to be an all-new animated series that follows a squad of elite, genetically enhanced clones first introduced in a 4-episode arc in Season 7 of the Clone Wars. So the show will pick up after the events of that series as Clone Force 99 finds their way in a rapidly changing galaxy and take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find new purpose. This is a project that's basically got all the creative minds behind the Clone Wars, Rebels, and also Star Wars Resistance, which I've never really watched before. But it's basically headed up by Big Daddy Dave Filoni, who it's called George Lucas Jr. I mean, like, I love The Bad Batch. I think The Bad Batch was such a great introduction into the Clone Wars, and the fact that they'd sort of like given a little bit, just a teeny tiny little, taster over sort of like a 4-episode arc, was enough to wet the whistle, and I was fucking ecstatic when they announced they were getting their own series, and it's an interesting sort of like little time frame that they've got. Because it's sort of as it says in sort of like the article, it's around about sort of like the time where the Clone Wars actually ends. So I mean, if you've watched the trailer for it, it's around about Order 66 or the Jedi Purge, as it's sometimes called. But yeah, I mean, like, this new, fun, exciting, introductory like clone task force with like Season 7 of the Clone Wars levels of animation, it's just, I'm like, yes, please. Yes, fucking please.
I was like, just Season 7, I'll say this, credits to whoever does the animations for the Clone Wars, because Season 7 just looked fantastic. Everything looked fantastic, and the Bad Batch looks even more amazing. I guess it's another year of animation they've done. But apparently that should be coming within spring or summertime. So hopefully we'll get that very soon. But the Bad Batch, man, it got me excited. And I was like, we get to actually see what happens right after Order 66 or the events of Revenge of the Sith, basically, which we really don't get much into. So
yeah, I think the only place where there's been any sort of like story told in between 3 and 4 or episodes 3 and episode 4, have been Rebels, and another upcoming series, which we will talk about in just one second.
Fallen Order. Oh, also don't forget about the Fallen Order, which is just a few years.
Also, Fallen Order as well. Yeah. Today's I'm still here. So far, all I've seen is the movies and the Mandalorian. I would definitely recommend watching the Clone Wars, Chroma, because
there's a lot more you would understand.
I mean, we'll talk about it more when we actually get into talking about the Clone Wars specifically. It does take a lot of getting used to, because there are periods in the Clone Wars which are very, very dry, like incredibly dry, like particularly early on. But it's after a while, and sort of like getting into specific stories and over, an arc of like 3 or 4 episodes, when they get it right, they get it so fucking right, and it's great. It's absolutely great.
Definitely.
Addie's just giving me a good idea. Actually, she's saying that she's saying you guys should dress like Jedi. I was like, yeah, we probably should. I mean, like, I feel a bit ashamed just saying it, but the only kind of like Star Wars merch that I've got in terms of like wearing is specific like Star Wars Christmas jumper. But obviously it's like middle of February, so I would just feel like we're wearing the Christmas jumper.
Yeah, now. I was like, I don't have anything pretty much, and plus all the stuff is like expensive to get to.
Yeah, particularly with the global bastard, as I like to call it.
Yeah,
it being in full effect.
Yeah.
Is there a series?
Answer Chroma's question real quick.
Yep.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yep. You go, man. If you want to answer it, you can do.
Okay. So I'll say this: watch episode 1 through 6, of course, if you haven't already. First, get into the Clone Wars. Clone Wars, you actually get to understand episodes between 2 and episode 3 and why Anakin and Ahsoka's journey. You get to understand a little bit more. And when you get to episode 3, everything makes a lot more sense, and there's a lot more emotions behind it. Plus, you actually learn about the Mandalorians, which is actually very, very key just for every future project coming up, because I didn't realize how important Mandalorian is to the Mandalorians or to the universe in general. So once you get past the Mandalorians, that's when you'll get into the Clone Wars, learn about the Mandalorians, their backstory, and the Darksaber, and then go into Rebels. You'll learn the different types of clans in Rebels. You'll learn more about Rebels. I'm sorry. In Rebels, you'll learn more about the Mandalorians, and they're pretty badass in there as well. And then, like I said, once you learn all these clans and who the Mandalorians are, you'll actually understand the Mandalorian itself. Obviously, we don't know who Din Djarin is until we get to the series, but you'll actually learn, the history of the Darksaber. Before going to the Mandalorian, you'll actually know the history of the Darksaber and who are these different clans and why Din Djarin is the way he is, basically.
Yeah. I'd say that another aspect of Clone Wars as well that is really, really great is the just the planet of Dathomir as a whole. Because, it's the introduction of sort of like the Night Sister clan, who are just basically like space witches. You get sort of like full like backstory of like Darth Maul's race and all that. That's another thing that is expanded upon in the Clone Wars. So that's yeah. There's quite a lot to get your head around, but as soon as you get into it, it's freaking great. Addy, there's 7 seasons of the Clone Wars on. Most of them are sort of like 23, 24 episodes, except for season 6, where I think there's only like 12 or 13. Because there was like a writer's strike. Was it a writer's strike?
When was it? 2012, 13?
Around 2013, around 2013, I think. Yeah.
And I didn't hear about any writer's strike. That was when they were transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when just bought out bought out the Clone Wars, so they probably just canceled the project altogether. And they probably said, you know what, we're going to focus on, I guess, this is what I'm assuming. I guess they're going to focus on, the sequels and any future other projects. So who knows?
Well, possibly. Well, we'll get on to the next the next thing.
Oh no, yeah. Let's continue on the topic where we're talking. Yeah, on the current topic.
It's fine. Do you know what? This is probably one of the things that's going to happen quite a lot, where we'll just sort of like we'll get distracted and start talking about like stuff, further down the line. But that's just what happens when you're talking to Star Wars nerds, I'm afraid. Yeah. So the next thing I've got on my list is the Book of Boba Fett, set for release on Disney Plus around Christmas time of this year, which would be really freaking great. As I say, trying to be as unspoilery as possible, but season 2 of The Mandalorian saw the glorious return of Boba Fett. Towards the end of that series, he made his return to the scene of the crime of his apparent murder when he fell into the or death, if you want to call it that, in episode 6, when he obviously fell into the Sarlacc pit. Other than the fact that it's been given a release date and the fact that other than Tamora Morrison, who has played Boba Fett, Jango Fett, particularly in the prequels, and Ming-Na Wen, who played Fennec Shand, is also going to be featured in it. Pretty much like there's a little bit at the bottom as well. The series is executive produced by Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and Robert Rodriguez, who directed the episode that reintroduced Boba Fett to the Star Wars galaxy. And it's also known for doing like the Sin City movies and I think like the Spy Kids movies and something else as well. I can't remember just off the top of my head. And then the next one after that is Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. So that's it. It was a very interesting, very pleasant surprise. Obviously the post credit scenes of the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. It was just sort of like the Book of Boba Fett. It's like coming fall 2021. It's like, whoa, what? It's like you've only just finished season 2 of The Mandalorian. It's like we're already getting a series devoted to Boba Fett. It's like, I mean, cool.
So I think back in 2016, 2017, I thought there was a rumor that the Book of Boba Fett was going to happen, or not the Book of Boba Fett, but Boba Fett series. I thought that was going to happen, and I guess what. Yeah,
I think it was around the time that Rogue One came out.
Yeah,
and then there was sort of like there was talks of doing a Han Solo movie, which they ended up doing. There was talks of like an Obi-Wan movie, which obviously reversed into something better, in my opinion. Yeah. And I do seem to remember there was talk of them doing a Boba Fett movie as well. Until the Solo movie kind of put the kibosh on everything, at least for a while anyway.
I think so from what I heard at the time, like I guess we were told a Boba Fett show or movie was going to come, and I guess when The Mandalorian came out, I thought it was like, all right, I guess they were just going to do a Mandalorian because that's how Boba Fett is. I guess not, and then I was like, I don't think we're ever going to get this, and then that post-credit scene. It surprised us very well. I was like, and I honestly thought they were going to do it where season 3 of The Mandalorian is Boba Fett's story, because basically, I, in my opinion, I don't see much else of The Mandalorian. Like
with Din Djarin himself.
Din Djarin, his story is pretty much done if you think about it. But if they come up with more stuff, I'm all for it. But I think Din Djarin's story is basically done. But like I said, I'm totally okay with getting more Din Djarin and Grogu.
Yeah. Definitely. Right. So the next thing on the article was like season 3 of The Mandalorian, but the only thing really of note there is that they pushed it back to like next year, because obviously they've got the Bad Batch, they've got you know, they've got the Book of Boba Fett, nicely spaced out over the year. So that's not. I mean, it sucks, but I'd rather they take the time with it. I'd rather they not spread themselves too thin. In all honesty,
definitely.
Another fan favorite character that popped up in The Mandalorian is going to be getting her own series on Disney Plus. That being Ahsoka Tano. Yes, Rosario Dawson is returned to the role of Ahsoka Tano. She will front her limited series from creators Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And if the previous season was any indication, the series will mark another long-awaited live-action debut, that of the villainous Grand Admiral Thrawn. Oh boy! Well, when said episode of The Mandalorian popped up, I was in awe, and the fact that it's sort of like it one of the the teas of Grand Admiral Thrawn, given how much of a fan I am of Rebels. I'm all for it. The only the cherry on the top of the ice cream sundae for me would be if they get it's not Mads Mikkelsen. What's his name? What's the name of his brother? Is it like Peter Mikkelsen or something like that?
I'm not
he actually did the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn in Rebels. I mean, if they're able to get him in, they're
talking about Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. as Thrawn. In my opinion, I don't think that's a good idea. I was like, I love RDJ, but he had his time, I think.
I mean, it's for me, there's only one person that can play Thrawn. There is only one person that can play Thrawn.
Yeah.
For me, but I won't be Lars Mikkelsen. That's it. It's not freaking Peter Mikkelsen. Lars Mikkelsen. Just because, I'm not going to get into it now because that's something to bring up when we do a characters episode. But yeah. I mean, if you can get Lars Mikkelsen in, then you are fucking sold for me. Well, I'm sold anyway. I'm sold anyway because I'm just going to skip over that one because that's not really anything of any importance. The next one that I've got on my list is Star Wars Andor. So this is a prequel series for Rogue One, centered around Diego Luna's rebel spy Cassian Andor, and it's billed as being a tense, nail-biting thriller set prior to the events of Rogue One. During the formative years of the rebellion, the 12-episode series will see Cassian alongside returning characters like Kato Esso and Mon Mothma as they set out to restore hope to a galaxy in the grip of a ruthless empire. I mean, if you're a major freaking fan of Rogue One, you're probably really happy about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not against having a series set in that time frame because obviously we're going to be getting it with the next series that's coming up. But I've always said this about Rogue One is the supporting cast. I think are a lot more effective characters than actually the main cast in Rogue One. At least that's from me because I watched it very recently and recently being 3 weeks ago, something like that. Something that sort of stood out to me quite a fair bit. But I don't dislike Rogue One. I really enjoyed it, and it's not really too surprising that Rogue One is sort of heralded as sort of the best Star Wars movie that's come out under sort of the Disney banner. I can understand that really. Yeah. So as long as it's done properly, as long as it's entertaining, which might be, might not, could be good.
So that's another thing. This is also going to be included in future projects. Is I want to see actual Rebels. I want to see Rebels No, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. Like, I actually want to see like Rebel cells outside of what we already know during that time period. Like, I'm down for seeing more Rebel, Cassian Andor. Like, I want to see more of that. Like, I think they're pretty great. I think they're a pretty great group that we got to see, which was really awesome.
Yep.
What I want to see though is a group of rebels wherever in the galaxy fighting against the Empire, and they get their shit kicked in. Like, and it's dark too. Like, that's why I want to see something dark and gruesome. Like, I want to see like that dark version of Star Wars, where
what you're basically pitching forward is sort of like a Star Wars version of season 1 of the Daredevil Netflix show. I think that's what you're pitching forward, because that's the season 1 of the Daredevil series on Netflix had sort of like very similar. Very similar aspects to it. Like, it's like incredibly dark, doesn't pull no punches. Like, Matt Murdock for the majority of the season just continually gets his ass kicked because at first he's weighing over his head. I think that'd be an interesting. That'd be rather interesting of them to do, and maybe they might do it further down the line. You never know.
I was like, because like I said, it'd be cool to see like a rebel group somewhere in the galaxy. And they're, just like with the groups you already know, they're fighting against the Empire, or they're fighting for their planet, and their planet doesn't make it, or the group just, it could be like a 1 or 2 season thing maybe, and they legit
it's like a
don't
bare bones resistant cell.
It'd be cool to get a little series on. Yeah, it'd be cool to get a little series on a rebel group just getting just crushed. Like, they think they finally have hope, but at the end, that's it.
That'll be interesting to see. Well, they might do it further down the line. Next up is the one I've been most looking forward to talking about, because the next one I've got on my list is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
Hello there. So yeah, it was pretty much like confirmed back in 2019 that the actor of Obi-Wan Kenobi in episodes 1, 2, and 3, Ewan McGregor, would be returning to play the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's been revealed that he's going to be getting his own season. I believe production kicks off next month. I believe it is. I think it's in March. I remember. March 2021. So it's like next month that production kicks off for it. The show itself is going to be set 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. And it's also going to feature the return of Hayden Christensen, who's going to be playing Darth Vader again. So, I mean, like, I've been calling out return, and as he said in multiple interviews, like from when just after Revenge of the Sith came out up until now, he's constantly said in interviews, just sort of like, my phone's right here. If Disney, if Lucasfilms want to give me a ring anytime of sort of like doing something again with Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm interested. But it was always a case of sort of like Ewan McGregor keeping his cards close to his chest. And just that announcement in 2019 that he would be returning to play Obi-Wan, and the announcement that he's going to be getting his own series, which I'm all for, because I remembered being so utterly heartbroken and absolutely pissed at the Han Solo movie, because it like killed my dream. As like, I had a dream of Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan film. But then in actuality, seeing how well Clone Wars has done, how well Rebels has done, how well The Mandalorian has done, fuck it, give it a TV series. I'm all for that. I'm all for having a TV series more than I was just having a movie, because that way I just get more Obi-Wan.
Yeah, pretty much. I can't wait for it. I want to see how how his journey is after that time frame, like how he became so calm, basically, like his journey just finally becoming at peace with who he is and just being protective of the last hope in the galaxy.
Well, I wouldn't be too surprised because you have to remember sort of like the back end of episode 3. You know, Yoda was talking about sort of like teaching Obi-Wan the the Force ability of being able to talk with Force ghosts, which was initially learned by Obi-Wan's master, Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I think there's absolutely room in, this series that's going to be coming up for Liam needs to make a return and, do a couple of appearances of Qui-Gon Jinn. I think that'd be fucking outstanding.
Do you think we're actually going to get another fight, like an actual fight, or is it just going to be a vision? What do you think?
I don't know. Because I think they could go down sort of like the vision path.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I think they could do sort of like, not like a full battle, but, sort of like a more like up-to-date, better version of the lightsaber battle in, say, like episode 4. Because let's be honest, if you go back and watch that lightsaber battle, it's not really aged that well.
No,
not really aged that well.
Yeah.
When you consider.
I want to talk about a really beautiful lightsaber fight that no one, well, unless you're a huge fan, obviously you know of it, but like it's very underrated, and it's the most beautiful. It's very poetic, and I think you kind of know what I'm talking about. Obi-Wan versus Maul.
Yeah.
It was
it's just, I mean, well, yeah, but not trying to be like too spoilery on it, but yeah, it's one of the, like, for me, one of the best like lightsaber fights, given the fact of how many elements are going into it, how much history is between the two, and it's just it's a great lightsaber fight in my opinion. If nobody knows really, it's not the lightsaber fight from episode 1 that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that'd be something to sort of like touch bases on when we eventually get into Rebels. Which
it's like people are like, what? I hate the lightsaber fight. It doesn't mean anything. Or like, it was only this amount of time. It's like, I was like,
it's not all lightsaber fights have to be sort of like flashy, doing.
It's not Obi-Wan versus Anakin.
Yeah. Not all lightsaber fights have to be like that. Like if there's a story to it and a purpose to it, then it's just that much more effective.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next Star Wars project, which I think could be a bit of a dark horse. Really looking at it from this standpoint, and that is the Acolyte. The Acolyte, which is has been teased as a mystery thriller that will take us into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. And just for reference, that's set about like 350 years before the prequels. So basically, like hundreds of years before the events of, say, like Episode 1 fully kick off.
Because someone was saying someone said 50 years, and I was like, if it was 50 years, we would actually get some really cool characters. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah.
No, it's fine. Well, the fact that it says like the final days of the High Republic era, that could, necessarily be, because they regard sort of like High Republic era and then like the Star Wars saga, sort of like side to side. So, I'll probably just say, just before we go into this sort of like deep dive discussion, that it's going to be written and and produced from an executive branch by the showrunner for Russian Doll on Netflix. It's just sort of like I've only ever seen like an advert for it, because like Russian Doll is sort of like it's sort of like a TV adaptation of sort of like Groundhog Day. So it's like it's or like Happy Death Day, where there's like this one main character and she just relives the same day one after the other, to which she sort of like dies at the end of it. Dies at the end of every day, and then she just repeats that cycle over and over again.
Yeah.
But as I say, like the end of the High Republic era, it says to me that there could be the possibility of just sort of like maybe having a bit more Yoda.
Yeah, I think we'll get Yoda for sure. I think we're
possibly having a bit of Mace Windu in there.
No, not Mace Windu. He's too because it's the High Republic, 350 years.
Yeah, but no. What I'm saying is just sort of like if it's set in the final days of the High Republic era, so that's just like literally on the cusp of going into
that's
going into sort of like the start of like Phantom Menace and all that.
Okay.
I think there could be the possibility, or maybe this is just me fancy booking, and what I'd really love to see is possibly seeing like the relationship between Count Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn, when they're sort of like master and Padawan with one another.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool to see. But as I say, like with a lot of these projects, like nothing has been like leaked too much. It's only like little bits here and there that you've heard about.
I was thinking Plagueis and Palpatine, seeing a younger version of Palpatine getting influenced. Well, Palpatine was already influenced growing up. He hated his fucking dad. He hated his family in general, and he actually, just because he came from a wealthy family, he actually he had bought a lot of Sith artifacts. So I think growing up, he loved the Sith already. So he already knew what he wanted to do. But Palpatine, he definitely, not Palpatine, Plagueis, he definitely helped Palpatine decide what he wanted. Or helped Palpatine.
But I know, but yeah, like we say, we're just sort of like spitballing. But there's no reason why you couldn't have sort of like you could have them looking at Plagueis and Palpatine, and you could also see sort of like the progression of like Palpatine maybe sort of like manipulating Dooku and seeing the effect that has on Qui-Gon, and possibly. But as I say, we know very, very little other than sort of like where it's set and who's going to be in charge of writing and producing it.
Or it'll be really cool. Oh, and one more thing before seeing the possibility of them ordering the clones, but I think that's a little bit after the Phantom Menace. I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
I'd say so. But maybe. Right, we'll get very. Well, in fact, since we've been talking about TV series, I'll just go down to the next big TV series.
Yeah.
These like next couple, I'll just sort of like very briefly touch on. So they're going to be doing like an animated droid show labeled A Droid Story. So Lucasfilm Animation will team up with Industrial Light and Music to create a new adventure for R2-D2 and C-3PO. Hybrid of animation and visual effects, the epic journey will introduce a new hero to be guided by the beloved droid duo on a mission known only to them. So there's a R2-D2 and C-3PO series. There's also going to be a series around Lando Calrissian. Which we'll see. The only thing about the Lando series is that they've not revealed whether it's going to be Billy D. Williams playing Lando, or whether it'll be Donald Glover, who the younger Lando in Solo, a Star Wars story. Could be
real quick on that one. Real quick, want to see Hondo live action?
Yeah, that'd be cool to see.
That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, because he's probably one of the he's probably one of the most like loved side characters in like all of the animated series. Yeah. Like he's written so well and played really, really well. Yeah. And just very briefly, I'll touch upon rather interesting project as we sort of like close out the TV series projects. There's apparently going to be doing they're going to be doing a show called Star Wars Visions. So they're going to expand their canon beyond CG animation with Visions, a collection of 10 short stories celebrating the galaxy through the lens of the world's best anime creators and offering a fresh and diverse cultural perspective to Star Wars. The films will be created by leading Japanese anime studios, the specifics of which are yet to be revealed. Now, I would never really sort of like associate Star Wars with anime, but it's sort of like the crossover I didn't think I wanted until I sort of like thought about it. I was just sort of like, Star Wars crossed with anime. Huh, yeah, that'd be quite interesting. Like not just from sort of like the stories that they can tell, but also like the animation that they can use as well. I think it'd be really cool, really, really cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more of a what if series, like kind of like Marvel What If, like maybe we'll get like, hey,
possibly.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a what if series, so maybe we'll get to see like, hey, what would happen if Anakin died at the Battle of Mustafar, or some a major change, or one event that changed history basically, that we see. Yeah, I'll see.
That'd be cool. That'd be really, really cool. Yeah. And then just with regards to sort of like future movie projects, the one that's been like categorically announced has been Rogue Squadron. So that's set for release around December of 2023.
Yeah.
This is what they've got labeled down. So the next Star Wars feature set for the big screen will make history as the first in the franchise to be helmed by a female director. By Patty Jenkins of Wonder Woman fame, like the nowadays Wonder Woman, will usher in a future era of the galaxy with Rogue Squadron introducing a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings.
Yeah.
Which, if I hadn't have heard sort of like the calamity that was Wonder Woman 1984, I probably would have been like, well, I still am hyped for this movie to an extent, because it's an interesting concept that they've not really to my knowledge, nothing that they've told. It's not really sort of like a story that they've told that much before. So yeah, I am excited for it. But there's as I say, Wonder Woman 1984. I'm not seeing it, but I have heard what goes on in it, and but she is a Star Wars fan, so maybe she'll do that a little bit more justice.
So another are we almost done with future projects yet?
There's a couple.
How many?
There's a couple of more. There's a couple more things. So there's going to be a Star Wars movie directed by Taika Waititi, who is the New Zealand director, who did I believe it was the season finale of season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Wait, what is it?
It's not been titled yet. It's just like literally these last like couple of movies are just sort of like projects that people, like specific directors, are going to be doing for like future Star Wars. So they haven't got anything like set in stone for what's going to happen. There's apparently going to be another trilogy of films. All. There's no easy way of putting this. There's going to be the next trilogy of Star Wars is going to be written and going to be in charge from Rian Johnson, who, if you Remember, Ryan Johnson was in charge of the utter catastrophe that was The Last Jedi. So,
You can
I
see
mean,
my
we'll probably
face.
hang on a minute. Hang on. I mean, we'll probably talk about it when we actually get to the sequel movies itself.
Oh God.
There's another director who's going to be having a movie of his own is Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, he directs like he directs Iron Man and a lot of
the
Marvel.
MCU movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's apparently he's going to be having he's going to be in charge of a film in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was just sort of like a rumor that director J.D. Dillard, who's done like stuff on Slight, Sweetheart, and HBO's The Outsider, but that's just a rumor.
Yeah.
And that is like everything like future.
Rangers of the Republic. Rangers of the New Republic.
Yeah, Rangers of the New Republic.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen anymore.
No, it's not happening anymore, mate.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't really bring it up because like I knew it had been cancelled.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we might as well touch upon it. Rangers of the New Republic was another series that was going to be in the works, but due to the actions and the subsequent firing of actress Gina Carano, who played Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, that is no longer happening. So whether they have sort of like a replacement series for it lined up or not, or whether they just sort of like direct their energies into something more specific, I don't really know. So out of all of the list of everything that I've sort of like rambled off there, Apollo, what are you most looking forward to?
Okay, so first things first. Obi-Wan, honestly, Kenobi. Let's be real, Kenobi.
Yeah, that's my number one.
I was like, I want to see his transition from dealing with a lot of the stuff he dealt with during the Clone Wars and a little bit before that, losing his master, losing the love of his life, basically, and getting killed right in front of her and losing his best friend. So I was like, that's
a lot of emotional turmoil to be sort of dealing with in your time of exile.
Yeah. So I was like, just him coming to peace. I want to see that. And then seeing how he is with see how he deals with the Empire basically, and how he protects Luke for so long. I can't wait to see. Yeah. And then, I'm excited for Ahsoka. She's obviously, I think she's the most badass female character, and probably in TV history. Like, I think she definitely is. And I'm excited to see Thrawn. I want to see what happens after after season 2 of The Mandalorian. Hopefully, we're learning a little more after the Battle of Endor for Ahsoka as well. So, what else? And then, the Bad Batch. I was like, those are some bad motherfuckers, and I can't wait to see what they do. I wonder if I don't think. Do you think they executed Order 66?
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
that's the interesting thing, because with to sort of like get very into very minor spoilery territory. Basically, all of the clone troopers have like a chip inserted, which basically as soon as Order 66 is given the go ahead, every clone with their chip in the head automatically sort of like goes into sort of like, must kill Jedi mode. So, but it'd be interesting to know whether the Bad Batch, given that they are genetically altered clones, if they were given the chip as well.
Yeah.
That is, I think is like part of the mystery of what they'll expand upon. I just noticed in the chat, by the way, I just want to go back Just a couple. Just a couple. Something that Demons put. I can see Lewis with plush toys in the back. Those, in actuality, sir, are cushions for my bed. So, you. And besides, even if I do have plush toys, what? So what? Huh?
Apollo makes his background to airplane cockpit. He looks like a pilot.
Whether you can do that or
shit, bro.
Hey, get like a background of sort of like you for like, I don't know, like an X-wing cockpit, and then sort of like we should get you like a Mandalorian helmet as well.
Sure, let me get it. Actually, you know what? I'll put a fucking green screen in my room once I get the game. I'm gonna get because I actually want to do a gaming room, and yeah, I'll make it the most badass shit ever. So yeah. You go for you, bro.
Yeah, you've pretty much listed everything that I'm mostly looking for. As I say, like the Acolyte is something I'm very much interested in, given that it's set in a time period that hasn't like bar comic books and novels, which I am completely clueless about, hasn't been expanded upon in sort of like this area of like Star Wars media. So I think that'll be cool. I'm also interested to see what they do with the Visions TV series as well, because I'm not like an avid watcher of anime, but I've watched the odd couple of like animes here and there, and I am like really I love sort of like the aesthetic look that animes, well, like certain animes are done. So it'd be interesting to see. Interesting to see what they do from there.
Yeah. So let's. Hey, how about we do this real quick? What is the series you want to see?
Oh, if I were to say there was any like series I really want to see, I want to see. I want to see either a series or a trilogy that's set during the Old Republic. Saga. Okay. So like this is, well, so like give context. Old Republic era is set like 2,000-3,000 years before the events of like episode 1 throughout.
Yeah.
So right there, you're dealing with sort of like the early days of the Jedi, the early days of the Sith. You're dealing with sort of like Darth Revan. You're dealing with Darth Malik. You're dealing with Nihilus. You're dealing with Nihilus, who is just basically like an eater of worlds. Like literally, he like consumes whole planets, and it's just like, as I said, like it's much like a lot like the High Republic era, bar like the comics, the books, and obviously sort of like the Knights of the Old Republic games and the Old Republic game. It's another area of sort of like Star Wars media where it hasn't been touched, and I just feel like, particularly in the right hands, that'd be some epic fucking Star Wars, man.
Yeah,
epic fucking Star Wars,
dude. That's a lot of war. Like, that is a lot of war.
But as I say, like in the right hands, I think it'd be fucking epic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It'd be really epic.
Definitely.
How about you?
Darth Vader, man. I want to see Darth Vader in his prime. Just fucking crushing Jedi. All right, I want to see him at his prime, just destroying Jedi and destroying rebels, and see how he interacts with Palpatine throughout his years. Because I know in the source material, he's very he fucking hates Palpatine, and Palpatine hates him back as well. And mainly Darth Vader, he just hates himself. He's like he I wouldn't. Does he really regret what he did, or he's just like, I don't think he regrets what he did.
I'd say so. I would say so, because
in
like,
a way,
but I think the thing with Vader is, I think he deep down he knows what he's done and what he's doing is wrong. But I think he's literally at the point of no return, of just sort of like going, well, there's nothing I can do to sort of like right this wrong that I've done.
Yeah.
At least for me, anyway.
Yeah, nah, actually, I kind of agree with that. It was like he's at the point of no return. I was like, he during Operation Nightfall or Order 66 at the Jedi Temple, it's like he was told to go do this, and he was manipulated. So he went and go ahead and did it. And then there's also some more stuff that in source material when he went to Mustafar to take out the trade
leaders.
The Trade Federation leaders. And apparently he was enjoying it. Like he enjoyed, like he regretted, like you can see in his eyes, he's crying about, killing all the younglings and destroying the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
But this time around, he was like, he's doing this just because he wants to. Yeah. So
be interesting to see if they would go for it. It would be interesting because it's for me. It all depends what they do with this Kenobi series, because you could, in theory, do sort of like a story about Kenobi, but have it sort of like not only focused on Kenobi, but you could also focus it on Vader as well.
Yeah,
I think that's a definite possibility, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
if
definitely
that is actually what they do.
Yeah.
So the one last topic that I've got concerns, again, it's sort of like it's nowadays Star Wars. As we all know, sort of like Disney bought out I don't know, Lucas, I think it was like Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
They basically like bought the rights for Star Wars from George Lucas back in 2012. I can't freaking speak at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, they bought the rights for Star Wars back in, I think it was like October 2012 or something like that.
Yeah.
And during that time, they've made like they've done five films. They I can't remember whether Clone Wars was cancelled before Disney took over or
it got cancelled in did it? Yeah, because season 6 still has Cartoon Network's logo.
Right. So to take into consideration, so you've got like season 7 of the Clone Wars, you've also got Rebels, and then you've got like the 2 seasons of the Mandalorian. So the final question, not only for you, but for all of you right there in the chat, yes, you, is, it's just going to come up with a banner here. What grade would you give Disney for what they have done with Star Wars so far?
It's kind of hard because.
Do you want to hear what I've given it so far?
Yeah, go ahead.
So far, from what I've seen, I have given Disney a C+.
Yeah,
I think I sort of like was tossing and turning back and forth in my head of sort of like whether it would be a C+ or whether you could bump that up to a B-. I think you could possibly bump it up to a B-, just given the strength that,
the latest
obviously
it's been.
Yeah, particularly how they've been like lately. So, like lately, it's been near enough flawless, really.
Yeah,
like it's some of the best writing, some of the best produced Star Wars stuff that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
As I say, it's the only reason why I sort of like scurry on sort of like the C+ side is just how much I dislike The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and they are very much a detriment to Star Wars itself.
Yeah.
And the fact that I've not gone back and watched either movie since I initially saw them in the cinemas, it sort of speaks volumes to how to why I sort of like I would say a C+, but if you want to sort of like give it like a B-, like you could do.
So you're let me know. All right, so I give mine. Okay, sorry.
So Demon seems to be like me, as sort of like a low B. You can tell that Doggy is sort of like a fan that hasn't watched hardly anything because she's given them an A triple plus just for Grogu alone.
Yes.
Which,
Grogu. Hold on. I'll be right back. Hold on. I got something.
oh, A up. He's flashing out his nerd muscles.
Motherfucking go make a live appearance. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go, Dingle.
Right.
There's your A triple plus.
There you go. I should have brought him out earlier.
It's a shame you haven't got like sticky tape or like duct tape or anything, because you just like stick him on the shoulder like there.
There you go.
It's like a baby kangaroo in this like little pouch.
Something like that. All right. So let me know when I can go.
You can go, man. I've pretty much said all all I'm going to say on it.
So I'm actually gonna give it a B- as well. So like basically, we got nothing the first 3 years, basically, and Force Awakens. I watched it. I was like, it's not the best, but it's all right. I can actually work. It's something like it. I think they did a pretty good job. It's basically a New Hope.
Yeah. I know that's sort of like something that gets criticized so freaking heavily. It's like, it's basically a New Hope. It's just sort of like, yes, it is, but it establishes your three main characters.
Yeah.
It gives them something to do. It gives there's like so much depth to them. There's a natural progression to the story that they're telling throughout this movie.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, like, of all the movies in sort of like the sequel trilogy, The Force Awakens is my favorite because yes, it's a rehash of a movie that they've told in the past, but at the same time, it's not exactly, it's not as if it's rehashing absolutely everything from it.
Yeah.
It's establishing sort of like your three main characters, which in theory should have set up for the rest of the trilogy going forward.
Yes. So what continue on to that part? Sorry, The Force Awakens, like they established their main character. I was like, I can't wait to see Finn. Like I was excited to actually see Finn, where he was gonna go. We'll go about that another time. Ray, I was like, all right, you know what? I actually like Ray. And I was like, all right, cool. We get to see someone new, the new chosen one, I guess you can say. And I was like, all right, you know what? I could work with this. I don't mind it. And we got to see a lot of our, favorites return, like Leia and Han Solo and Chewie and R2 and C-3PO. We got to see them all return. And it was like, all right, it worked well because it brought some of the old fans were like, yes, I get to see, my favorites again. And it introduced you to that new generation of fans. But then Last Jedi. Let's not talk about
giving your reaction when sort of like, I had to break the news to you that Rian Johnson was getting his own trilogy later down the line.
Yeah. I was like, you ruined your main cast and you ruined your legacy character.
I mean, it's like we'll talk about it in sort of like specifically the next episode, because the next episode sort of like ties a lot into the sequel trilogy and particularly like The Last Jedi itself, but especially from sort of like my perspective. But as well as sort of like the sequel trilogy, you got to remember as well that there were some good movies in there as well. Like, I mean, like Rogue One is in that bracket.
Rogue One was yeah. Rogue One. That was a nerdgasm at the end, and at first I was like, I thought it was kind of boring, but when you rewatch it, I think you actually need to watch Rebels as well too. I think Rebels you kind of need to watch before it as well. And when you get into Rogue One, it was just like, Oh my god! And I don't know if you heard, but right before they were gonna fly to Scarif, there's a little Easter egg. It says Captain Syndulla come to the hangar or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I think there's like an Easter egg of sort of like, Chopper as well. I think he's sort of like in
Really?
the background one of the scenes in Rogue One,
Oh.
which was annoying because watching it recently, I was just sort of like I was on the lookout, I was sort of like,
Yeah.
where is he? Where is he? And I
Yeah.
couldn't see him anywhere.
And just to Rogue One, I think it was a great movie. Solo, I didn't think it was bad at all. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. Sort of like I don't think it was necessarily a bad movie.
I think people were just pissed off. I think
just
that's
don't
it.
think I just don't think it was a necessary movie.
In a way.
I personally don't think it was necessary. But as I say, wasn't awful, but at the same time wasn't blown away by it either.
Maybe we may appreciate it more with the Boba Fett series because just the way
Possibly.
Yeah. And then the Rise of Skywalker, I didn't hate it because it tried redeeming a lot of the bad stuff that happened. So it tried redeeming it, and J.J. Abrams had to come save the day. Obviously, he did what he could with what he got after everything was ruined.
He tried to. It was the proverbial trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And
yeah.
But the problem I have with sort of like Rise of Skywalker is the constant fucking news articles that after the movie came out was just sort of like, oh, this is what this meant, or this was what was supposed to be, this was what this was supposed to establish. It was like, why couldn't you have just told me this as the movie was going along?
Yeah.
Why do I have to why do I have to find out all this kind of stuff, in freaking news articles after the fact?
Yeah.
And when they do stuff like that, that just shows to me that you didn't make a good job at telling the story in your movie.
Yeah, pretty much. And your main characters, they honestly got ruined. So
yeah, which is another subject to debate on.
We'll talk about that another time.
Future podcast, because I on some of them in the sequel series, I am pretty sure I'm going to go hell for leather with them. And it's not specifically the actors themselves or how they've acted. It's predominantly how these characters have been written. And I think that's sort of like the main flaw with these sequels. That they were established, they were given the sort of like their own characteristics, they were given like their own personalities, set up for stories to be told in the next two movies, and then it's literally they took all of that work and just went out the window.
Yep. So, and just going down the road, like Clone Wars, like episode 9, it tried to redeem it. Obviously, it was very hard to redeem. And then you had the Clone Wars season 7, which brought a lot more to brought a lot more back to the prequels, which I loved it. And you could say if you weren't damn near crying, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, I was teary-eyed, don't you worry.
Yeah.
And then what I love about sort of like little bits with season 7 of the Clone Wars is the fact that you're able to sync up scenes in Revenge of the Sith, and you can sort of like time it properly with events that go on in that 7th season of Clone Wars, particularly those last 4 episodes. I just think is masterful fucking storytelling.
Yes,
masterful.
Like they're legit showing scenes.
Yeah, that's why I'm such a proprietor of just sort of like every single Star Wars project, just like going, you have to have Dave Filoni involved in this. You have to have Jon Favreau involved in it because they get it. They fucking get it.
They know. They know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there was...
And then obviously the last thing, the Mandalorian. It's damn. I wouldn't say it's the most perfect show, but they had a lot of redeeming qualities. They played on the nostalgia, and I'll say this: I think it's a very simple story, and
Mhm.
but they execute it very well.
Yeah.
And it's like watching that last episode of The Mandalorian. Like I remember you texted me like, Apollo, watch this now. You need to go watch this now. I had just woken up. It was like 5, 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
and I go and watch it. I was just like, I'm on my bed, just yelling like, "Let's go!" I was excited, and then obviously the ending just gets you.
That's the thing, though. That's the way. That's what when Star Wars gets it right.
Yeah.
When it gets it right, those are the moments when you sort of like going, "All right, let's go," and you like I'd scene in question, sort of like from season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. I was literally, honestly, like this, cross-legged on my bed, just sort of like literally like shaking like a freaking kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
I was that freaking excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm that excited about it. So would you say like a low grade B?
Yeah.
A low grade B.
I think the shows and a couple of the movies they're pretty great.
They make up for it.
They make up for it. But like I said, just that one movie, just the honest, basically 2 movies, just really just one movie just really destroyed your legacy character, and it ruined a lot of your character building, which could have set up. Honestly, if you had set up episode 8, just right, I think Star Wars be, how can I say it? I think everyone would be a lot more happy. Everyone would be a lot more happy. Yeah.
And plus the sequel trilogy wouldn't be so like decisive as it is.
Yeah.
Personally. Right, so those are the ends of the topics. Just while we have like a little bit of time. If any of you in the chat have anything sort of like Q&A, or Apollo, you've got sort of like anything question related that you want to ask me, or vice versa, speak now or forever hold your peace. God damn it.
Yeah.
Just while I'm thinking about it at the time, my man. You mentioned when you were sort of like talking about your introduction to Star Wars about the fact that you had like a custom made lightsaber. Have you ever sort of like considered getting these like lightsabers that are like plastic, like specifically handcrafted lightsabers where you can sort of like choose your specific hilts, and you can sort of like there's like certain technology that you can sort of like download download particular colors, like particular not only sort of like particular colors, but like particular like sounding lightsabers that sort of like
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say, and honestly, not really. I think one, it just has to deal with money, and I think
like, for me, if money wasn't any issue, I would be on that like flies around shit. Honestly, because the amount of time sort of like growing up with like cousins who had like the toy replicas of like lightsabers, and we just go in the garden and play fucking Star Wars all afternoon and all freaking evening.
Yeah,
like those are like fucking sick. And like where I'm filming at the moment is just basically like a section of like my fitted wardrobes, and I've got like a shelf just above me, and I'd love to sort of like get my own stand, sort of like have it stretch out like that, and then every now and then, if I'm like feeling like a big kid again, I can just sort of like get out, just like I am a complete geek.
Yeah, I would like to get some. If money wasn't a problem, obviously I would like to get some of the replicas, like actual replicas.
What replica would you go for? Because I'd sort of like I'd want to go for one that's sort of like like Luke Skywalker's original sort of like lightsaber hilt,
Mhm.
or I would go for sort of like the Qui-Gon Jinn Obi-Wan lightsaber hilt from Episode 1,
Mhm.
because I think that's just sort of like it's a classic like retro
Yeah.
hilt that I go for.
Darth Vader, bro.
But I was about to say, is there any point in me asking you this question? Because I know exactly what you're going to be going for.
I was like, Darth Vader is actually like my favorite character. So, yeah, I actually, him and Anakin are obviously, they're my main character. So, yeah, fell in love with them.
Doggies.
Oh, maybe Ahsoka. Sorry, maybe Ahsoka.
Well, I know of a website that actually does sort of like the Ahsoka double lightsabers. One where one's like shorter than the other.
Yeah,
I do know of a website, but it's
okay.
as I say, it's money. Would you have any recommendations for Doggy of where in particular to start in Star Wars? If I were going to suggest anything, I mean, this is just me, but if you struggle with sort of like attention span, then it might be something different, Dougal. But I would say I would start at the original trilogy, because that's in theory why I should have really started, and sort of like going in a chronological order or a release order, however you want to however you want to go about it. Do you have any would you have any recommendations at all where she should start, Apollo?
Me, Episode 1. That's just me. Start out with Episode 1 and then go your way through.
Don't mind me. I'm just doing my tippity tapping thing.
Yeah.
Because it's in relation to what we're going to be doing next episode.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, Doug. Yeah, I think if you really want to start out Star Wars, either start on the prequels 4, 5, and 6, then 1, 2, 3, or obviously Episode 1 going all the way through. And if you have the attention span and the time, if you really have the attention span and the time, Episode 1, 2, Clone Wars, 3, Rebels, Rogue One, Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6, The Mandalorian, and then the sequels. So
yeah, that's that's the thing with Star Wars, and as I say, sort of like one of the things that I really want to do with this podcast going forward is like do specific episodes like devoted to the original trilogy, or like devoted to the prequels, or devoted to like say the first 3 seasons of like Clone Wars or something like that, because there is quite a lot to watch and there is quite a lot to discuss. So there's no reason why. That is a lot.
It is a lot.
It is a lot, but it's easy for us to say because we're that captivated with it. But from sort of like an outsider looking in, it definitely will seem like a lot. Definitely will. But if you take to it like obviously me and Apollo do, you'll be flying. You will be absolutely flying. Right. So we're just about getting to the end of the very first episode. And I'm going to do something of what I am going to call homework. Because not a lot of people in this stream will have probably done homework, unless you've been helping out your subsequent kids or cousins or nieces and nephews with that kind of thing. I've no idea where I was going with that. So it's in relation to what we're going to be doing next episode. So next episode, I really want to be focusing on specific characters. So for your homework for the next episode, Apollo, and this is going to go out to Wolf as well, who will hopefully have on for episode 2. I'm going to hop it on the banner. Your homework for the next episode is to come up with your list of your top 5 favorite and least favorite characters. Think you'll be able to do that?
Yeah, that should be a pretty fucking easy task. Yeah.
And we can sort of like, it goes to you guys in the chat as well. If you have your list of or if you want to make your list of sort of like your top 5, I mean, you don't even have to do sort of like both. You can just sort of like do top 3, if like your favorite character of all time, your least favorite character of all time, 2, 3 from each list, whatever, doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's what we'll be covering in the next episode. Just before we go, Apollo, have you got anything that you want to plug before we sign off for the evening/afternoon?
When do you think we should come back next Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I say, like my schedule isn't really changing at the moment. Thus, being in the United Kingdom, we're in a perpetual state of constant fucking lockdown, which means I don't have to do any significant work, part of like housework and that. So yeah, I mean, we can. I would say we'll probably aim for next Sunday. But we'll have to talk about it off stream, and obviously we'll have to include Warwolf with it as well because we want to get involved in the next episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. Before.
No, you go, man. You go.
Are we dipping off after this?
Yeah.
Okay. First things first, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe button, click on notification, be the first one to get that amazing first comment, and come join that Discord. Link will be in the description below. All right. Now to you, Lewis.
Yeah. As I say, guys, it's going to be the first. This has been the debut episode in what hopefully is going to be sort of like a long running series. Hopefully, all of you will be with us for the ride, and hopefully, you'll be able to get involved as much as you possibly can do. I love the fact that Demon's asking for a lightsaber fight. Demon, do you realize there are only sort of like we can only do sort of like there are only sort of like certain things that are possible. Really. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to do a lightsaber fight if it were possible, but we only have so many resources.
Yeah.
Guys. So yeah, guys, make sure that you've hit that like button on the you've hit that like button down below. If you are new around here, make sure that you're subscribed. All the links for everything related to himself, to Apollo, and everything related to the Games Lair Discord is available down in the description below. And yeah, hopefully we should, touch wood. If touch wood, Warwolf pending, we are back. We are back next Sunday.
No, let's hope so.
Really?
I can't wait to keep this going.
Yeah, Apollo, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. And
until next time,
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. We'll have to nerd talk again eventually.
Absolutely. Right, guys, we will see you next time on episode 2 of Galactic Table Talk. There's nothing really much for us to say other than peace.